All right. So quote to deal transition problem in HVAC businesses. Now, most HVAC businesses that I have a chat with on the discovery calls, I normally hear that they think that the game is won as soon as they send the quote. So there is no need to follow up. They just silently wait for somebody to say yes or no. Or oftentimes, they think that the follow-ups is something that can be done as optionally. It may be a good decision for some of the leads, but they do this only after a few weeks since the quote was sent. Now the problem with that is that at this stage, when you do something like this, deals quietly die. And the reason for that is, first of all, we need to understand the fundamentals why this happens in the first place. So I'm going to do some beautiful and professional drawings right here. So let's say this is you, and let's say this is your client, right? So as soon as you share the price, you give the power of the communication between the client to the client. The reason for this is because as soon as somebody knows the price for what you're offering, they now have the full responsibility and full right to decide whether or not they want to move forward with you, and whether or not they see the value that you provide for this price as something reasonable to pay for, right? So essentially, before this, so before the quote send stage, the power is you hold the power, because essentially somebody has the problem, they want to understand how to solve the problem, and now you, as the expert, trying to sort of analyze the problem and then provide the best solution for this. Now, as soon as you share the quote in HVAC, especially, you give the power dynamic to the power dynamic changes, and the power now is in the client's hands, right? And this is a fundamental problem with not having a proper follow-up system, because without it, you essentially just leaving tons of cash on the table, right? And right now, what we're going to discuss is how do we fix the problem when you either have a lot of maybe zones, when basically you send the quote and then you wait for months, years, decades for somebody to say yes or no, which is obviously an extremely painful situation to be in, because obviously you sitting there and thinking that, okay, we potentially may have this revenue, but you don't really have shit in your bank account, right? Or how do you deal with just pure ghosting? So essentially, sometimes people say, I just need to think about this a bit more. And sometimes you just don't get the reply at all, right? Which are obviously two big problems. So we will now discuss this. So there are core points about the follow-up system that we provide for the clients that have this problem. And first point is that same day check-in. So as soon as you send the quote, you follow up right away, the same day. So this can be different for different types of business and different approaches to how you sell specifically. But sort of as when we take the archetype of the HVAC business, right? So essentially, and the sales process for the archetype is normally you have the opt-in, right? Then you have the initial chat, right? So the initial chat, then you have the survey, then you have the call center, then you have the deal, right? So then you have the call center, then you have deal. Now, with this in mind, right? And when you have this structure, letting people know and asking if they actually received the quote during the same day when you send the quote is actually a very reasonable idea. Now, how you can do this is absolutely up to you. One of the basic variations is to send the quote and then have the follow-up email asking if you actually received the quote, right? Because sometimes it can actually happen that it may be in the junk folder, for example, or different reasons that can happen with this. So it's very healthy to normally just check if they actually received the quote. Also, another variation what can be done is, for example, to give them a call and just say thank you again to providing all the information about your property, about the system that you currently have for your heating or cooling, and just to let you know, we just sent you the quote, right? So please, while I'm on the call with you, could you please jump on the on your email inbox and take a look if you actually received the quote. So this is actually a very, very good idea for this one as well, right? Another one that's going to be obviously you can, for example, send a text via WhatsApp, for example, or just an SMS. Different ways, but it's a very healthy thing to do to just to make sure that they actually receive the quote, and also at the same time you also have this quick nudge, so this way people clearly remember that they need to take a look at the quote and they need to sort of actually make the decision, right? This is point one. Now, point two, and by the way, I will actually show you the real example of how we implemented this for one of our clients, right? So you will be able to see this clearly for the specific case, right? So point number two is 24-hour and 48-hour reminders with value. Now, this one is extremely important because during the first, I would say probably first 3 to 5 days, you have the most leverage in terms of the follow-up, right? And you have the most chance, like you have the biggest chance to push the deal closer to actually being closed, right? So the important with this is that you don't just send like a plain check-in email or text message or anything like this. How it's best to do is to have a check-in email and check-in SMS, and plus at the same time give them some value. For example, so if we talk about let's say, if we talk about the most common way that you can do this, and actually one of the very effective ones, you can have an email where you're basically asking, checking in, right? And then after this, you have the PS statement. So essentially, have the email, normal email, and then you have PS, right? And here you share the case study, or for example, a testimonial from your recent client, right? And you essentially just you can just copy and paste the actual Google review that you received recently, right here, right? This can be one of the ideas. For example, another idea is to share, let's say, a PDF with some of the images. This can also be a very good idea. Or for example, if the concern that the potential client raised on the sales call or on the survey, on this discovery call, is that they have these questions, right? So for example, like they when they were taking a look at different companies, they had multiple different questions and a lot of concerns. You can basically reinforce this again with this PS statement, or for example, having the link to your, for example, a dedicated page with the FAQs on your website, for example. But I would recommend PS statement normally because this way it feels way more tailored to the client, right? And this way, you essentially remind the client why you specifically, because you essentially tailor everything to the results, goals, problem solved, and everything that the client wants to achieve to them, right? So point number three is multi-channel touch. This one is a banger because you don't have to rely on one channel, right? Especially like the most common one is, as you probably understand, is the email one, yeah. And often I absolutely don't recommend relying on only one channel of client communication. The reason for this is that, first of all, psychologically, when you have multiple client communication channels, you are able to trigger multiple reminders in the human brain about you, and also be able to sort of attach you and your company to different places. So this way, sort of, it's a way more on top of the mind, right? So I would highly recommend mixing phone, text, WhatsApp, and email. So this way, even if somebody ignored the email, they can't really ignore every single channel, right? So I would really, genuinely at this stage, I recommend doing everything, right? So I recommend sending emails, sending SMS, sending WhatsApp messages, sending WhatsApp voice notes, videos, giving call, everything possible. I recommend doing this, right, on a regular basis. If this is like a huge problem on the long term as well. So essentially, like, we are talking about like 1, 2, 3 months of regular personal touches and regular automated emails, SMS, and anything you can possibly do, right? I will show the specific example how this was implemented for one of the clients just in a few seconds. And another very cool tip, and this is actually like one of the pro tips that I absolutely I'm very excited to share with you here, is the scarcity trigger. Now, what this means is that you actually can use scarcity for the leads that were hot, or for example still hot, to be able to get the deal very faster. So for example, if you actually, like, and in this case, you actually have to be you actually have to state the facts and tell the truth, right? Because when you try to fake the scarcity, it feels fake right away. So you don't try to fake this in any circumstance. If you genuinely are very busy, and you genuinely are constrained about the slots that you have for the installation, and people actually understand this, what you can do is you can just state the fact and tell the truth. You can just say that, so our next slots to install your, let's say, heating and cooling system, your air conditioning system, your heat pump, is at this date, at this time, for example, or this range. If this works for you, I can hold this for you right now, but just please let me know, okay? So this way, automatically, you basically, what you do is that you don't ask for the price, but you ask for the date to lock in the installation, which automatically means that you, to be able to install the system, you need the money, right? So this basically implies this. So I would highly recommend doing this if you're actually a busy man and you can actually leverage this. It's a banger, especially if you also attach like with the PS statement, with the like, let's say case study or a testimonial. This is gonna be chef kiss. You know what I'm saying? Now, fifth one is a long tail nurture. So what this means is that if somebody doesn't move, it doesn't mean that they're dead at all. It just means that you just have to play long term, right? And this, believe me when I say this, we follow up with leads for years, right? So long term systems are extremely valuable, right? You just basically have to set up the proper automation, so this way you are not bombarding them too often, so this way you don't piss them off, but you bombard them with like light touches, with more case studies, and essentially the time horizon is expanded, right? So this way you are following up, for example, not every 1 or 2 days, but you're following up, let's say 1 per 2 weeks, let's say, right? With like one channel, and then another one, and another one. So essentially this way you follow up, let's say, for 3, 6, 12, 24 months, but this way it's way more light, right? And by the way, this is something that you only do when, like, let's say after 1 month of hardcore follow up, and still not either being ghosted or still being in a maybe zone, right? Now let's discuss a clear example. So this one is the this is the workflow for the quote send to deal close follow-up system for one of our clients. So in this specific case, as you can see, we have the trigger. It triggers when the lead is placed in the pipeline for the quote send stage. And essentially here in for this specific case, we sent the first automated email and SMS after 24 hours as soon as the prospect got the quote. Reason for this is that for this specific business, they have a very personal way of sending the quotes. Essentially, they let them know right away personally, like for example, via WhatsApp or via call, that they actually send the quote. So this is why we don't really need to sort of do this same day ask, right? Now, in 24 hours, what we do is we ask the email. Now, in this case, as you can see, we have the personalization with obviously the first name, so on and so forth. We are using variables here. And after this, as you can see here, we are using the PS statement with the Google review, right? The same stuff we do with the SMS. And as you can see, after this, we are following up every 2 days after this. And as you can see, here's the entire workflow. Now, if you do this, I can pretty much guarantee, if you actually implement those 5 things, I can pretty much guarantee that your percentage of quotes closed will be higher compared when you aren't doing this. Because in HVAC, the winner is usually not the cheapest one, right? People look, if you actually generate high quality leads for yourself that actually want to speak with you directly, right? Which we do in my company. There is no chance that somebody actually wants the cheapest one, right? We clearly, at this stage, we clearly understand that people want the quality, and this basically means that you just have to be front of mind all the time and remind about the problem, remind about the solution, and about the goals that they want to achieve, right? So yeah, this is it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in comments. If you want me to generate more exclusive leads for your business, actually more exclusive clients for your business with a tailored approach and no shared leads, book a call, link in the description. I believe that this would be the best decision you can possibly make for your business, because we actually do the shit, and we do here. All right? Have a nice one. Cheers.